Welcome to the Taylor Made Tasty podcast. I'm Taylor, retired serial quitter turned goal boss coach, speaker, and consultant. I believe a beautiful life starts with a beautiful mindset. Join me as we amplify confidence, resilience, and actionable tools on the road to quit quitting on you and your vision. You are worthy of your goals, so let's go get there. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Taylor Made Tasty, the podcast. Today I am just doing a straight up life update. I could sit here and go on Instagram and do this over 5,000 stories, but I thought I would just touch on all the aspects of life and just kind of give you an overview of what's going on, what's happening, what the future holds. So let's just get right into it here. We have been in Texas for just over a year now, which is crazy. It has flown by. When we first came here, we decided to rent because while we were obsessed with the town after visiting it, we were like, well, to put roots so permanent with buying something right out of the gate would just be a commitment. And so we are over halfway through our lease at this place, which is wild. So, but we have been loving it, and Dustin got a promotion a few months ago that took effect right at the beginning of the summer. So that's been really great. He was working 14-hour days and then, the drive to and from work. So we were having dinner sometimes at 9 o'clock at night. Actually, most nights, not sometimes, 9 o'clock at night. And so he has a more regular schedule now, and it's so beautiful. And the timing was perfect because it was right at the beginning of summer when Peyton got here. And so she was actually able to spend every evening with her papa, and he was was off on the weekend. So more of a 40-hour, totally normal work schedule. And he's a territory manager, so he really moved into this completely new role that is totally, like, when he told me he was going to apply for this, I was like, who are you? You are the Dustin that many know and love. However, you're not exactly like the small talky, which you need to be as a salesman, which is what a territory manager is for this organization. And so I'm like, that's really not your thing. So what's making you want to go out and do this? And he's been crushing it. So he's doing such a good job. It definitely was a risk because it is partly commission. So it was like we're going from, hours and hours of overtime that he was doing to like, okay, now it's 40 hours, which is great. But also you have to bust your ass in order to make sure that you are hitting these figures, hitting these numbers to obtain the financial gain that we are looking to do so in order for the goals that we have in our life. So it's been really good. It's definitely different, and I think we're just kind of navigating through it. So he's kind of learning that with sales, you have really stellar weeks and you have really sad, slow weeks, and it's kind of the average of it all that gets you there. But also, Peyton started school. So at the end of her Texas summer, she went back. She started soccer. She started school. And of course, like, it just started. I feel like, we're in September. Like, she's already sick from because all the germs and the little creatures at school. So she's already sick, but she's on the mend, and soccer's been going well. So they've won every game, and actually for the entire season, the start of the season, so the season opener, Peyton scored the first goal, which is so exciting. So she's more or less the veteran on the team. There's a lot of newbies, but that I think is empowering her to step up and like be a leader. So we love this. We love this for her, and we love this for the team too. So she's doing great. She's busier than ever. I mean, we had to change our schedule of when we talk and chat and all of that because she has something every day after school, whether it's mathnasium or her religious education or soccer. She is just like the busiest bee, but she is thriving and we love it. So, and then my mom, who also is in the same household as us, right? She was gone for about 6 weeks when we were going through everything that was happening with my Oma, so her mother. And she's been back for a few weeks, so she's healing. She's going through all of the grieving and all of the things, and it was really hard when she first came back because it had been just my Opa and her, my grandfather and her, and they were just kind of healing together, but also trying to enjoy life together for just like a few weeks before she came back here. And since he had sort of put his health on hold, if you will, with random things like hearing aids, things like that, that they were intentional about getting him his appointment set up and everything. So there was a lot of work in that. And then it was her coming back here and healing and seeing some people that she's created community around here. So I would say with everything going on, like she's doing the best that she can right now. And, every day is different. So, but thank you to also everybody in my community that didn't know her personally, but reached out to her. Like she felt the love, and as did I and our family. But it was just like so beautiful of you. So thank you for that. We are loving our town as a whole, like myself, my husband, my mom. We are just loving our town. This past weekend was the county fair, which is a huge deal. So the Friday of the county fair, the entire town shuts down. Like it's crazy because sometimes I feel like we don't live in a small town, but we truly do. Like the entire town shuts down. Every school locally is closed. Because they're all part of this parade. Like they come out and they do the floats and they do their cheers and all of their bands come, their marching bands come out, and it is the best time. It's the longest parade of all time. It's like a damn rose parade that's going through the town. But it is so fun to watch, and I was by myself this year. Everyone else was working. And so I'm like, well, I just love the buzz of it all and just like the camaraderie of it all. And even though I have no children in any of these schools or, no horse in the race, if you will, it's still fun to like see everybody come together and be excited. And there's, I think, 8 marching bands, and I live for a marching band, so that's super fun. So Friday, town shuts down, we have the parade, and then the fair is open almost immediately. And so we went there because it was a very exciting moment. And I, last year, 2021, decided that I was going to put a pie into the pie baking contest, and I won second place. So it's a brown butter bourbon peach pie. That is what I enter. And last year I won second place. So I was like, this year I am gunning for that trophy. Like, I want that trophy. I want first place. I'm going to make it even better than ever. And I'm going to go for it. And so I decide I'm doing that again. Even last year I decided that. And a few weeks ago, Dustin decides that he's going to put a pie in the fair too. And wouldn't you know it, this man has never baked a pie in his entire life. But, as men do, they could do anything, right? So he's like, I'm going to bake a pie. And I'm like, okay, I support you, but I'm also like not gonna root for you because now I hate you that you're trying to take this trophy away from me. So he decides to bake a pie too. He baked a jalapeno apple pie. We had all these people on Facebook locally like, hey, want a taste test? Give me a taste test. So we had quite a few taste testers, and we actually took it to our pickleball group and they tested it. And the leader of the pickleball group, she's the cutest thing. I love her so much. She's actually my running partner, Vicky, that I've talked about, my 69-year-old running bestie. And so she did a silent vote for the pies, and actually Dustin ended up winning that silent vote. So, but she made a point that really it's like whoever likes apple is going to like the apple, and whoever likes peach is going to like the peach. And, you know, more often than not, people are going to like the apple. But, so that was really fun. But we went to the fair, and we walk up, and we both get second place. And I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Well, first of all, I'm a little happy because if he got first, I would have never heard the end of it. And I just would have been like, oh, so irritated. But we both got second place. I hate that we have the same ribbon. But what's cool is like the ribbon this year, even though it looks the same, it's bigger than the one last year. So it almost feels like I just did a little bit better, which is what I was looking for. But of course, the lady who was helping us look at what our ribbons were, she was gassing Dustin up and telling him like, oh my gosh, I loved that pie. I think you should have gotten first place. So, you know, all in his head, he's like, oh, my ribbon should be blue. My ribbon should be blue. I should be number one. So, but we love it. It's fun. It was a good time. The unfortunate part about the actual baking piece is that when you turn it in, it's on Wednesday, and then they try them on Thursday. So they do the testing on Thursday, and then Friday is when the fair opens, right? And so that's when you get to see who won. But your pie has been there since Wednesday, and it's in a non-refrigerated case. So let me remind you, we are in Texas, and even on a cold day like it is right now in the quote unquote fall, we're still at 90 degrees minimum. So it has been in a case, not refrigerated, for 5 days. So by the time you pick it up with your ribbon, the pie is rancid. Like, you have baked an entire pie for someone to take a slice, try it, and the entire pie is no good. So that's the very unfortunate part about the contest. But it is super fun to just be like ingrained in our community, and we are loving it. We are just loving it. I took the opportunity fairly early on to become part of Facebook groups. So this is, and I get asked a lot about creating that community, but it's really started from Facebook. So finding, and this is what I will say, is that even if you aren't in the quote unquote bigger town that is near you, is to find what that big town would be. So for example, we are in New Braunfels, but there are a lot of outlying towns that are very close by. But there are tons of New Braunfels Facebook groups. So even though these people may not live in town, they have joined the group because they are close enough to where if something's happening locally, they can easily drive in and be a part of it. And so even though it's surrounded around New Braunfels, there's still a ton of people that are in other towns. So that is what I would tell you, is like, find the next biggest area that has a presence on Facebook that are looking for like new friends or community or events or something like that for you to meet up with people. And it's really about just like commonalities. It could be, about adventures on the water, or maybe it's a mom's group, or maybe it's a knitting group or a book club, like anything that you are that you enjoy, that is a hobby of yours, that you can connect with people and build that community. And then it starts to kind of happen organically. So there's people that I met in the group that have friends that they met outside of the group. And so then I'm sort of friends with them now because I've met them in real life, right? And you're going to have to put yourselves out there. There's a lot of people that will go in there and just put a post of like, hey, this is who I am. But you also have to kind of just take the lead on that. And that could be in two different ways. Like take the lead by showing up to an event that somebody else has planned, leading yourself into that awkward situation. Or there's also the other side of it by taking the lead of actually planning your own event. And that is nerve-wracking, right? It's like, will anyone show up? But if you're putting it on Facebook, you can see RSVPs, you can remind people, you can set the stage of what it is, and it can be something simple. Like, I want to go to coffee. I want to have a glass of wine after, let's hit this new happy hour. Or you find a certain location that has a wine night for women or whatever it is. But again, putting yourself out there, and it's scary and it's awkward and you're not really sure what you're going to talk about, but you have the commonality of being in the same area physically, right? So even if there's nothing to talk about, you can talk about the, where you live, the surrounding areas, what's different in your town maybe than their town or something like that, and kind of start the conversation that way. And then just talk about what you like or what you like to do, and maybe find commonalities there too. But it's been fairly organic. And so it's been this like beautiful journey of figuring out like who we connect with, who we like to hang out with. And the support here is so beautiful. Like we were supported through the hard times with my Oma, and lots of people reaching out from that. And our pie baking contest, we showcased that on Facebook, and people were having the most fun with it. And we've created that by putting ourselves out there in different situations of, we now play pickleball. We had never even heard of it before coming here, but that happened too. So we play pickleball on Sunday nights. We joined because I saw something on Facebook. They were like sand volleyball co-ed league starting. And yeah, we haven't played. We actually figured it out today that we have not played volleyball. Dustin nor I have played volleyball since we were like 13 years old. And that's a little bit longer for me than it is for him. But that's a really long time to not have played volleyball. And we, again, just putting ourselves out there. I was so scared the first game. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know the rules. And it's just, you're there to have fun. You're there to connect. You're just out in your community. It's a beautiful thing. There's way less pressure than you think that it's going to be. And so that's been a really fun way to also meet people locally. And we have lots of plans between now and the end of the year. So we are actually coming up on our second wedding anniversary. And one of the events that we were at recently, we were watching a band at the beer garden, a super famous beer garden next to our home, and someone was talking about how there was the companion deal through Southwest while we were at the table, and I was like, oh my gosh, if we buy that now, then we can potentially see Peyton a few times next year, and we only have to pay for one ticket. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely, we're doing that. Where can we go? And so it had to be within a certain timeline, and that timeline included our anniversary. And we really had not talked about any specific plans for our anniversary, but we love a trip, and that's typically how it goes, is we would rather go do something than have something or exchange a physical item to each other. And so we decided to book a trip to NOLA, and neither of us have ever been there. It's actually only like an 8-hour drive from our house, so that's and that probably sounds like a lot for some people, but that is an easy drive for us. We're very used to driving far now. And so, but it seems a bit easier to navigate the city actually without a car, and just for like safety reasons, not having a car there. So we are going to fly into New Orleans, and we have, what do we have? I think we have 4 full days there. Yeah, 4 nights, 4 full days, and then we come home on a Monday. But we are so excited. We're gonna like all the tastes of the town and see all the highlights, of course, like the French Quarter and Bourbon Street. And we are in, I think it's called like this magazine area, and we are in the Garden District, I want to say, where all the like beautiful homes are and the historic homes. And Dustin's never been on what is it, an airboat. So I did that in Florida, and I just laughed my tail off the whole time. I just thought it was the funniest thing. So maybe do like a swamp tour. There's a 5K out there when we're going, so I'm gonna try to convince him to do a 5K, which he has agreed for the future that he is open to 5Ks and 10Ks, because he loves a medal, but he will not do anything beyond that. So I'm like, I love that. If you will do a 5K or 10K with me, that's beautiful. So we are going to be celebrating in New Orleans. If you have any recommendations, please DM me on Instagram at TaylorMadeTasty and let me know where we have to go, what we have to see. But we have a huge list. One of my friends that I have gained here in New Braunfels is actually from New Orleans. So she gave us a huge list of stuff to do, and her husband added to it too. So we have a lot on the docket, but please let us know what you loved. And let's see, in the month of October, we have 2 Halloween parties. So one is a 20s theme that's at this upscale sort of like speakeasy that we're going to dress up and go dancing and have these little fancy drinks. Well, Dustin will. I actually have not decided how far my sober training is going to take me, because I'm going to talk about in a little bit my running updates. But I've considered potentially for the NOLA trip that I would pause, not break, I'm going to say pause my sobriety for that trip, potentially. This is not a forever thing. It's really just to keep my running training at the best that it can be. And so I have thought that I might pause it for that. But we'll see. It might be a game time decision. So yeah, we have a 20s party. We have a house party, actually the weekend of Halloween. So if you have any fun, cool couples costume ideas, please let me know. Again, you can DM me on Instagram. I would love any ideas. I like things that are like timely and have some sort of pop culture reference. Like, those are always the funniest to me. So if you have any ideas for that, you let me know. And then I will talk more about my running in just a minute, but in November was supposed to be the marathon. I have, unless you caught that in my other episode, I have decided against running the marathon in November. I had quite a few setbacks between my back spasm and my IT band have had issues. So with that, my deadline for that goal has sort of been pushed. And so that trip is being skipped. But in the month of November, we get to see Peyton. So one of the the last holiday of the year that we have her is Thanksgiving. So we are going to be once again, we are going to be driving to California because we have the dog. So we're going to be driving to California, having Peyton for Thanksgiving, hanging out with her for a little bit that week and the weekend, and then we make the trek home. But what we also timed at the same time, which is so beautiful in fact of the timing, is that will be when we celebrate the life of my Oma. So we have a bunch of family coming in. We're going to be in the Orange County area, and we are going to celebrate the life of Oma all together, being able to really just enjoy each other's company and comfort each other with the memories of her. So I'm really looking forward to that, and what that will mean for my Opa too. So he has set up his area in his home where he has her ashes, and he says, now I get to tell her good morning and good night, which like breaks my heart equally as much as it just like fills my soul that he does that. And he made this little collage that has a picture of them in the middle, and then all of the grandkids and the great grandkids and their kids too all around it. And it's just beautiful. He's doing these little touches throughout the home that are little reminders of her, and he framed a few other things, and my mom helped, kind of decorate his home in that way. So it's really beautiful, and we're all going to come together for that on Thanksgiving weekend in California. So that is something that we're looking forward to in November. And honestly, after that, we're just kind of looking to lay low for the remainder of the year. This year has brought on some unexpected travel for sure, and then also the fact of running and the different travel that demanded, with like the half marathon in California, and then all the stuff. We did so much stuff in the summer with Peyton. So we're like, yeah, after Thanksgiving, we're thinking like, let's just lay low. And we also have the hope that my Opa would be interested in actually coming out to Texas. So that would be really cool if we got the opportunity to maybe spend the holidays with him, because our town is just like, it's so Hallmark. It's like beyond Hallmark, the amount of things that the town does for Christmas with the tree lightings. I mean, in our city there's two alone, and then in all the neighboring cities there's all these cool tree lightings too, and these festivals, and there's just so much to do around Christmas. And so we're hoping that Opa will be open to that idea, but if not, we will make the most of it. And then I'm trying to convince Dustin, I don't even know if this is a thing yet, if Shania will be there, but I really would love to go to Las Vegas and see Shania for my birthday in January. So that may be the next time that we're traveling after that, but that's on the super down low, even though I'm talking about it on here. So I have no idea. We will see what happens with that. But on the business front, oh my gosh, exciting stuff in the future. I teased a potential for a retreat that was completely overwhelmingly well received. And I'm so excited that I can confidently say right now that is in motion. So I've had 2 meetings with the venue. I have another one coming up this week with all of my final questions and everything. And then I have to work on vendors and everything to help get what the actual full pricing would be. But if you filled out that form about the market research that has to do with the retreat, I am so beyond thankful. You have helped immensely in planning this. So I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be just the absolute best, and I think the timing is perfect. I'm also working on my first physical product. So the first ever Tailor Made Tasty physical product that may or may not coincide with the vision board party, which is going to be bigger and better than ever. Every year I level up even more. And the first year, like, there was nothing physical about it. It was all worksheets that were online, and that's great. That's I loved how it started, and it was still very successful. And then the next year I decided to do a vision board party box, and that was so well received too. People love getting mail. I love getting mail, and it's like that exciting sort of like FabFitFun box, if you will, that you don't really know what's in it, but you know it's going to be fun. And it all aligned with the vision board party and the goals and everything. And so, yeah, physical product. We will see what that is. And then in the new year, I have an entirely new thing coming. New name, new social, new everything that is coming in the new year. And I could not be more excited about it. So we are working on the branding right now, and her title's like VA, virtual assistant, but she's so much more than that. So, my assistant Jordan is also kind of like my creative director. So she presented me just yesterday, actually, with branding ideas surrounding this concept. And so, yeah, we're picking out colors and fonts and all the things right now, and then gonna lean into this new, entirely new thing that I cannot wait to share with you guys. But I also wanted to talk about my marathon training update. So basically what happened in the past like 2 months, my IT band. So it basically is kind of the front of your thigh, front to the side of your thigh. What happened was I did an incredible run, right? I had like one of the best runs that I've had in a long time, speed drills. And then feeling good the very next day, sat in my desk, as I do quite often for a long period of time, stood up, my hip popped, and this pain radiated down my leg. So it is all connected. Your back, your hips, your glutes, your thighs, all of it is like connected, right? And so, especially when it comes to running and your strength. And because of that, I had to dial it back, and then I started to ramp up again and noticed that it was hurting even more. So then I dialed it back again, and I was actually kind of forced to take a break because I have recently gotten sick. I had like the stomach bug thing that's happening, so I don't know what that's about. But because of that, I actually took a longer amount of rest, and I can say now that my IT band actually feels better. So, with all of that, I decided to I had like 2-hour conversation over multiple days with my running coach about what this means for like scheduling and alternatives for the marathon, and then going forward what coaching looks like too. And so I have decided, I was running 5 days a week, and now I have decided to pull that back to 3 days a week, but also ramp up the strength training. So when I am training as a plus size woman, it's going to be harder on my joints, my muscles, my everything, right? And so because of that, I need to work on my strength a little bit more. And so I have dialed back the running, amplified the strength training, and that is going forward is going to be the goal of the coaching schedule right now. And it's about that I don't know if you've heard the 80-20 rule, but in business, basically also applying to running, in that 80% of the runs should be easy, but they're making up 20% of your like the benefit of you pushing and the longevity of your longer runs and all of that, and your strength and your endurance and all of that. So like 80% of these runs should be fairly easy, and easy, quote unquote, is relative to every single person, right? So we needed to establish what my easy was. And so we have established that. We have a new coaching schedule. We have lots of alternative marathons. I'm looking at anything from Oklahoma City to Little Rock to I'm trying to think of any of the other ones. There's a lot of them, but something that's going to be around later in spring is potentially the goal. So that is really what we're looking at right now as far as the marathon training goes. But alongside that same line, because I started to train for a marathon and I had been watching what I was eating and noticing like, hey, you know what? I'm not losing weight. It's weird. But now I've since learned that that's not so weird. But initially when I was looking at what I was doing and what I was eating, and nothing happening as far as activity and my nutrition go, that nothing was really happening with my body or the scale, I had gone to the doctor and I was like, let me do this full blood panel and see what's going on here. And so that happened. Then I got the results of that and everything was stellar. Like so many things were stellar, but there was one question she had and she said, do you have joint pain? And I said, no, other than like I've been running for the past year, but I don't really, if I have joint pain, I attribute it to my running. Now I'll have random times where my wrists start hurting, but I really assume that that's from I have spent too much time at my desk and it's not completely ergonomic. So I just think that that's why sometimes my wrist hurt. It's very random. So she said, we're going to run these specific panels again because they did come back in a way that causes concern. But if you're saying that you don't have joint pain, I just want to be sure. So she ran a certain panel again, and then it came back that my ANA and my RNP markers came back quote unquote positive, which could mean that I have an autoimmune disease. So basically, the marker can be negative or positive, and my RNP was 1.8, and it should be less than a 1. And so because my doctor was not well versed in what that means, she decided that she was going to refer me to a rheumatologist. And since we're in a small town, the rheumatologists here are booked out for months at a time. Like I'm talking 6 months at a time. So for the last few months, I have been calling the ones in the bigger cities to try and get an appointment in there because I'm like, I'm a worrywart, and now you've told me that an autoimmune is a plethora of them, right? It could be so many things. So to just blanketly know that it could be an autoimmune disease and not know which one was like really scary. And so I'm like, I need to figure out where I can get in quicker than this, and maybe with someone that is just a little more established, if you will. Like I don't know how long the rheumatologist here has been in practice. So I found one in San Antonio, and so that took a whole thing of getting my labs over there and all of my charts over there and everything so that they could look at it and decide, yes, I need you to come in. And so they looked at it, they decided, yes, we absolutely want you to come in. So I went to that appointment actually last week, very recently, and this is what happened. So I was in the appointment. I was asked all sorts of things, like about my mom and about my dad and about myself, and I was given a physical exam, and then we took just like every little detail of my labs, and we went through all of that. And it was explained to me that basically I am one of the very rare cases where my antibodies show that they're higher, but it doesn't mean that I have an autoimmune disease. So it's like way more rare that it happens that way. But after all of the testing and the exams and like the deep dive into my lab work, he thinks I'm a part of that category and that nothing is actually happening inside of my body. So last week I did a few more tests. So they did blood work and like urine, and that should be back in the next few weeks. But after that, should that come back normal, he's like, we just need to monitor it. So if you start to have things that would be autoimmune disease like symptoms, then we need to be aware of that. So that would be things like joint pain, rashes, hair loss, ulcers in your mouth are sort of some of the initial signs of that. And so he felt really confident in saying that I could keep doing my training, and that is as long as everything comes back normal with the other tests, which he had no reason to believe that wouldn't be the case, that I do not have an autoimmune disease. So where I was probably the past 2 months, I've been in my head about this, and I'm feeling very blessed because I know that for a lot of people, this news doesn't go this way, and I am absolutely terrified of this for the reasons that, people will have random pain that they can't even know day to day how their day's gonna go. Like one day they have no energy, and one day they have pain, and the next day they might be fine, and it can go so many different ways. That I know I am very blessed to be able to say that even though I have those markers, they are confidently saying right now that I do not have an autoimmune disease. So I wanted to give you that update. Like I said, I could have talked about this on Instagram with a million slides, but now that you're seeing we're at about 40 minutes right now, I had a lot to update you guys on. And so I just wanted to kind of give everything out at one time so that you kind of know like what's been happening in the past really kind of months or year of life, and let you in on it all. And I feel like in the year that I've been here, life has given me true blessings and challenges, and I feel fortunate, and I feel grief, and I feel unsure, and I think that's just living life. All right, y'all, it is time for the quote of the episode. This quote is from Mae West. You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. Take that into your week, your month, and maybe even your year, and live your life. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my community. I'm so glad you showed up today, and let's go get there. Look at you, crushing it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Tailor Made Tasty podcast. My hope is you always leave with a takeaway to implement in your own goal-crushing journey. I would love if you could take a moment to leave a review. And if you're looking for a community of goal boss badasses just like you, be sure to check out tailormadetasty.com/membership.